Hi, welcome to the DC Marvel Battlecast, where we discuss all things DC and Marvel related and debate who would win in versus battle matchups. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm Johnny DC.
The song at the beginning was Sharks Don't Sleep by the Action Band from the album Captain America, the Civil War soundtrack, which is available on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you stream music. Today we will be talking about the new X-Men Apocalypse trailer that dropped early last week. We'll be talking about the new Netflix Punisher show, Ben Affleck's new role in the Justice League, and the Flash director news. And then after that, we'll get into the Civil War review. So let's go ahead and get started. So the new X-Men Apocalypse trailer, I was a little disappointed because our last podcast was kind of a slow news couple of weeks.
This is kind of a slow news. I mean, there's only 4 big news items.
Yeah.
Which is good because we have more time to talk about Civil War.
Yeah. I like talking about trailers, though, and this one didn't really drop until like a couple of days after our last podcast. So I was like, we could have used that. But,
yeah, it was like the Monday after.
But what did you think of the new trailer?
It's my favorite trailer.
It's mine, too. I'm glad they finally stopped using that Coldplay cover song.
Oh, 46 and 2 is... You cannot have a more perfect...
No, that's not 46 and 2. No.
What is it?
That is... Hey Man, Nice Shot by Filter.
I was way off.
It's like, that's way I say, hey man, nice shot. That song. It's pretty good.
Why hasn't 46 and 2 been used? Because that's like, isn't that about like evolution?
They used Tool's song 46 and 2 in the Captain America, one of the first Avenger Captain America previews. They used that song on there.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Still a good song. Hey Man, Nice Shot. Great song.
Yeah. So, there's not too much new footage in this new one.
Yeah, they keep using the same footage, but like it keeps changing each
Apocalypse
time.
is a god. You could tell they splice up that line a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool how Apocalypse, like how he appeared. His whole agenda is to like amass mutants up, and then he steals their powers. So I guess he has the powers of the mutants that he steals from. I guess that's his power set in this film. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the sand decapitation thing was pretty cool.
When I saw that sand decapitation, I was like, oh, snap. It was, it's a pretty crazy way to go. It's like quarter through the forehead bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me think his power set seems almost like Rogue, but on a larger scale and not like a tactile power. He doesn't have to touch them in order to get it, but they die when he does it. I don't know.
Where did you hear that?
Well, that's just the impression that I'm getting from the trailer, because it sounds like he kills them and steals their power, and so he's just been amassing mutant powers throughout the millennia, I should say, which is interesting. It's not his real power set, but it's a way to kind of make him powerful, and it's a kind of a way to like give him all these different kind of mutant abilities, because really Apocalypse can almost his power set is not clearly defined. He could do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
He can transform and
he's like part shapeshifter, part like telepath.
But he also like part forge, where he can like create anything, kind of like how he created Archangel.
Right.
So he's like a scientist kind of as well. So I think it's a good way to kind of there's thunder. A good way to kind of explain how he'll have all these different kind of powers, and he doesn't just like appear as some kind of I'm just like a super powerful mutant with all these random ass powers.
Yeah. I'm starting to think, well, now that you mentioned that, I was thinking, the scene where like we see like all the cars and everything just kind of like disintegrating.
Yeah.
For a while, like when I saw this new trailer, I was thinking maybe that's Magneto. Maybe I'm thinking that's Apocalypse. Maybe it's Magneto.
Oh.
Maybe his like enhanced power is that he essentially has he has control over metal, but it's like also like just Earth in general at like the molecular level.
It kind of seems like they're turning into Rust or something. I wonder if he has like super Rust powers or something.
I was just thinking maybe that's Magneto's souped up power.
Yeah, because he can't just be... Magneto's pretty powerful enough, but he needs to be more powerful as a horseman. So I wonder...
Right.
That's a good point. That's how they might do that, I wonder.
They definitely... It's really interesting to compare certain shots in this trailer to shots from previous... Like even like Apocalypse's voice. They definitely enhanced that. They definitely enhanced like... There was a shot, where Professor X is like, I've never felt power like this before. In previous trailers, it's just the normal Cerebro background. But in this trailer, it's like that pink, purple kind of like swirly background.
Yeah.
It's strange. They keep like releasing, I guess, unfinished like elements from the film. Like even as far back as the Ivan Ooze looking Apocalypse on the Entertainment cover.
Yeah, they gotta stop doing
Weekly cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to see like how much they're changing it.
Well,
I guess you have to sell the film,
right?
But I mean, I feel like this is like a trailer like I've been waiting for, and I don't know if it's because of the extra polish that they've been adding, but it was pretty good. There was just one thing I didn't like in the trailer, and that was Jennifer Lawrence.
I don't know why she's getting on my nerves. That I can't define it, and I wonder if I'm being influenced by all the bad media that gets put out on her.
Is it just like oversaturation of Jennifer Lawrence, or is it it feels like she's like just like phoning it in. Like her lines don't feel believable. Like she doesn't have any cool like I remember like the trailers for Days of Future Past. Like she's like sliding across the table and just kicking all kinds of ass and stuff like this.
Yeah, but in this one she's just like none of that matters.
You are X-Men or something like that.
I don't know. Just her lines are horrible. I think I don't know how she'll end up in the final movie. I'm sure it'll be fine. I just don't like the concept of Mystique in a leadership role in the X-Men, even though that's happened. It's weird to see.
In the comics?
I prefer her as a bad guy. Yeah, in the comics.
I think it was interesting how they. It looks like they're going to touch on the fact that she's Nightcrawler's mom. Yeah,
which they didn't touch upon in X-Men 2.
Which annoyed me.
Yeah, it almost seemed like Nightcrawler was in love with her in X-Men 2 because he was like, waving his tail. Yeah. But in this one, his immediate reaction is, "You're her."
You're her.
And
wouldn't she know that he's her kid before he knew that she was his mom?
Yeah, you would think that if you pop a baby out, then you'd know about it. Maybe it was just like the comics where she thought he died or something. I don't know if she'll like be as cold as to like throw him into the river like she did in the comics.
Oh snap!
But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Does Magneto have a family? It looks like
he has a family.
It looks like he pulls a Wolverine Origins where he goes up to like the Canadian wilderness and becomes a lumberjack, and then like the people that he loves are killed.
Uh-huh. It does seem that way. Yeah.
It seems like a very Wolverine move.
I guess he just goes around having different families because, Quicksilver admits that he's his father.
Although in the comics, that's no longer true. That was just something that Magneto told him to try to manipulate them into joining the Brotherhood.
Who's the head of Marvel? Ivan
Perlmutter?
Perlmutter.
Yeah, he's the CEO.
I think he's just trying to do away with mutants in general, just trying to replace them with Inhumans because he's mad at Fox for owning the X-Men rights.
Yeah, that's how it goes in the comics now. There aren't going to be any more mutants ever since Black Bolt released the Terrigen bomb during the Infinity storyline, and
what Infinity storyline?
It was just a storyline called Infinity. It came out in 2014. It was the big summer event of that year.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I've been catching up using my Marvel Unlimited app.
Available now. Yeah.
It's really cool. I am annoyed that I can't read up on Secret Wars or anything because you can't really you don't have access to anything within like the past year. But I've been reading up on everything I missed. Like Avengers vs. X-Men, I thought was a great story. I reread Marvels and the Infinity Gauntlet and the Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale color books like Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue. I've been reading those. I've been reading a lot of stuff. Planet Hulk, World War Hulk. Civil War, I reread that. Rereading a lot of stuff too. Annihilation.
Just to go on a tangent here, I read this really interesting article by Newsarama.com, and they were talking about how, or was it IGN? I forget, but it was like, why is there no Netflix for comics?
There should be, yeah.
There should be, and they also shouldn't be priced the same as comics because a lot of the time when you're buying the paper version, you're paying, their part of it, your money goes towards printing costs. When you're doing it digitally,
right.
People are used to buying like 99-cent things or $1.99 like apps or whatever. It should be that much, and they would like draw a huge crowd. I totally agreed with the article. I would totally buy way more comics if they were 99 cents.
We should start one up.
We don't own Marvel or DC publications. It would have to be something like Comixology or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird because Netflix, they feature films from a whole bunch of different studios. So and Spotify, a whole bunch of different labels. So you would think there's someone who would be able to work with all the comic companies to deliver that digital content.
It would be Comixology, or it would be Amazon. It would be one of those two. But anyway, that needs
you can buy some digital comics off of iTunes. I know that.
Yeah,
they don't have a huge selection.
Yeah, that's how I own the first 2 deluxe versions of Why the Last Man is through iTunes.
Oh damn, that was a good story.
Yeah, super good.
They need to make that into a film.
Yeah,
big time.
But anyway, to go back to X.
Sorry. I think going to the very end shot. Something that got me super excited. It was almost like their response to the Spider-Man tag at the end of the last Civil War trailer. This was like their Wolverine tag at the end. Yeah. So it looks like they're going back to Stryker's compound, and we see the Weapon X story retold.
They put Stryker in every damn movie.
Yeah, they do, huh? They need to stop doing it. He's not that big. I mean, that's not even who he was in the comics. He was a preacher.
It's weird. I hate. Stop doing it.
But they need to. And this, I'm sure this is the last time we'll see him. But I am so glad that it looks like they're telling his Weapon X story right this time, because I was so pissed from Wolverine Origins when he hears what they're gonna wipe his memory. He freaks out. He busts out of his containment thing, but he's not like feral or anything. He's not psychotic like how he's supposed to be. And he kills 2 people, and then he jumps out of down a waterfall naked.
And then he gets his memory loss from a
freaking bullet. That's so stupid. Ugh. But I hope we see him in his enraged feral state with or at least I hope we see the computerized helmet. Mm-hmm. From Weapon X with the tubes and everything, and him crazy, and he just kills everybody an experiment gone wrong. Mm-hmm. And then I hope we see the real version of the Weapon X story.
I wonder how much involvement he'll have in the story, because
much.
Wolverine was one of the 4 Horsemen. He has been before.
Yeah, he's been Death before, but I don't think he's not going to be in this film, and I don't think he's going to have a big role. I think it's pretty much going to be a cameo where you see him run by killing a bunch of people. And then he just runs out, and
there's blood on those claws. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna go full Wolverine.
Which is how it's supposed to be. When I think of Weapon X, when he first gets his adamantium and he breaks out of that tube, I just think of him just screaming and bloody and confused and enraged, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Just to touch on another aspect of X-Men Origins Wolverine, did you notice that? And I don't know how big of a deal this is, or you think it would be. But when Cyclops was shooting his lasers at Storm and she was firing her lightning,
they counteracted each other.
Like they were both energy.
Well, it is an energy. It's an energy blast, but it's a force, but it looks like energy, kind of, I guess.
Right. Anyway,
I don't know how I feel about that.
When I saw that, I was like, that shouldn't be happening.
Well, what would happen in the comics? Would her energy just go through his force?
I think they would both go through each other.
You can't shove lightning, right?
Right. It's just made up of electrons, energy. Energy has no mass.
They would just kind of pass through each other.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I'm thinking.
That was
But they kind of pulled a Superman Doomsday heat vision thing.
They better not. I said it before on this podcast, and I'll say it again. If they turn it into heat vision, I'm going to riot. I'm just going to stand up. I'm going to be like, fuck this shit, and walk out. And I'm going to say it at the top of my lungs.
And that's going to be basically our review. We're we stopped watching after we found out it was Cyclops' Force Blast sort of energy.
When we went to the Civil War preview, there was, right before the preview started and they dimmed the lights, there was a guy who was like, hey, I just want to thank everybody for coming to this theater. Hope you enjoy Civil War. Turn off your phones. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. And I shouted out. I was like, "Go Union team! Go Union Army!" And people laughed.
I don't get it.
Because I was saying it was Civil War, the American Civil War.
Oh.
It was. Yeah. He just got done saying, "Hope you enjoy Civil War," and then I said, "Go Union Army." And my friends laughed. Actually, I don't think anybody else laughed. Anyway.
If someone said that, I would have been the union of the Avengers together. I don't know.
Oh my god. Yeah, it would have gone over your head.
Yeah, it would have.
Okay, so overall, I think I'm still looking forward to X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh,
the
one more
least out of what?
Yeah, sorry.
Looking forward to the least out of all the superhero movies coming out this year, but I think it'll be at least as good as Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
You think it'll be worse?
I think it'll be slightly worse just because of Jennifer Lawrence's performance from what I've seen so far. It may not
None
be worse.
of that matter.
It may not be worse, but from I'm anticipating it to not be as good right now. I mean, I'm still excited to see Psylocke in action.
Yeah.
I think what I'm most looking forward to in this film, because we've seen all the other characters. I'm not really that interested in Apocalypse. As cool as he is, I don't know. I know it's going to be different from the comics.
There's not too much pulling you in that you really haven't seen from an X-Men movie before.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It seems rather generic.
Yeah.
Although we haven't really had this kind of like cataclysmic, like world-threatening kind of mutant bad guy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
We'll see.
I wanted to ask you. I thought
they need to do a lot of glow popping in order for it to be good. I think
they do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you think that the Four Horsemen will actually be named like Death and Pestilence and War and what's the other one? Famine.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're just going to be called the Four Horsemen. I don't think they're going to take it quite as... I don't think Apocalypse is going to take it quite as literally from the Bible story as he does in...
Well, no, in the comics, they have the names like War.
Yeah, they do. But I don't think in this one, it's going to be more like his name is Apocalypse, but he's not going to be like making Bible references.
They're making Bible references in the trailers. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the only reference they do is, like the Bible.
Or maybe the Bible got it from him.
Oh, something like, yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, I was just curious what you thought of that. It's not like a deal breaker or anything. I don't care if they do. It was just...
No, I don't think they will.
Because if they did, who would be Death? Who would be War? Who would be...
I think Storm would be Famine, and I think Magneto would be Pestilence, and I think Archangel would be...
The Archangel of
Death.
Maybe.
And that means that Psylocke would be War. I don't know. We should take bets on this. Okay. All right. So that was the X-Men trailer. Netflix Punisher. Now I know we've already mentioned this before.
And how much we want it to happen.
And how much we wanted it to happen.
And now it finally is.
And apparently it was just a rumor, even though it was stated as fact. Or
what?
maybe they got an early scoop. No, I'm talking about way back.
Oh.
Like podcast number 2. We're like, oh, Punisher's getting his own Netflix.
Oh.
And then Jeff Loeb was like, don't be so sure yet. We don't know yet. And so now it's official. They've officially declared it. They came out with a teaser image and a little teaser trailer kind of thing.
I don't even think I saw those. I didn't see those.
The teaser image is just the skull. The teaser trailer is just the skull. It's flashing in this like thunder, and it's him doing the one batch thing.
Yeah.
And it goes penny and dime, and then it's like it looks very much like a horror film because like the skull flashes, and then it has like this serif. It looks like just Times New Roman, but in all caps, and it says Marvel and Netflix Entertainment present. And it's kind of like a gritty background and stuff. It looks like a horror film. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
What if he'll be in the Defenders?
I think he'll show up again in the Defenders, but the Punisher show will not happen until after the Defenders show.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
So I hope they go in deeper into his like Vietnam days, or not. I guess he wouldn't be in Vietnam.
He said he was in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah. So hopefully we get some kind of version of like Punisher Born or something, and yeah, there's a ton of story to go into the.
I think it would be nice to
backstory.
get a character out of New York, for the Netflix series, because Punisher is kind of
at least out of Hell's
mobile.
Kitchen. Take him to Jersey or
was
something.
Was Jessica Jones in Hell's Kitchen?
Yeah, it was around there as well. Yeah, her office was in Hell's Kitchen. Yes, That's correct. So we're just focusing on this small part of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Is it in Manhattan or is it in Brooklyn?
I don't know.
Take him to Staten Island for all I care. I don't give a crap. But you just get him out of Hell's Kitchen and see if he can like take the fight to Detroit or Chicago or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just for variety's sake.
Or Denver.
Yeah, bring him to Denver. Film in Denver so he can watch. So that'll be fun. Yeah, I said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's the best incarnation of the character.
For sure. He's the only one who's made me, like, cry.
What?
So, I mentioned that in the last podcast.
Do you want me to edit that out, man? Do you want to leave that in?
No, just with, like, how great his portrayal was and how sad, how tragic his story is. How tragic the character is.
My wife cried when we watched that scene, but I was just like, rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. No. I hope he'll show up I hope he'll be a full-fledged member of the Defenders team and then get his own show. I hope he's not just like cameoing in the Defenders and then getting his own show, I guess. I hope we see a lot more of him before the show, I think.
Yeah, me too.
So, moving on, tell us about Ben Affleck and his new role in the Justice League.
He's been given the role of executive producer.
Which it doesn't really mean much, executive producer, right? Like a producer has like major obligations and duties and roles and everything, but an executive producer is almost just a name attached to the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Stan Lee is executive producer of a ton of these films, but he has no real say into the direction they go.
The role producer is always kind of ambiguous.
They
especially executive producer. I mean,
they like represent the studio and they back the funding.
The rumor is, and I think this rumor is again coming from Birth Movies Death. I keep saying their name wrong. Birth Movies Death. I think in the last podcast when I was talking about them, I kept calling them Birth Death Movies. I caught myself a few times doing that. But anyway, Birth Movies Death, they've been saying a lot of stuff about Warner Brothers and the whole DC universe and cinematic universe. So, I think, I don't know if they got the scoop on this one. It might have been Heat Vision or Hollywood Reporter. I think it was the Hollywood Reporter. But of course, Birth Movies Death chimes in and says it's because the studio wants basically to put a leash on Zack Snyder and his ideas, and they think Ben Affleck can do that. Yeah, I think Ben Affleck could do that. I mean, I'm not concerned about Zack Snyder.
Do you think there's contention between Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I know Ben Affleck probably isn't happy with the Batman v Superman reception. I think getting him more involved, having him more involved in post especially, is a great idea because both of his Oscars come from production roles. Mm-hmm. I mean, so he has an Oscar for being a producer. Make him a producer on these films. It could only hurt, or it could only help. It can't hurt.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It makes me wonder if he's going to have more duties than the standard executive producer will have. Like, if it'll be more of a producer role.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's also another rumor going around that the whole reason they did this is because Kevin Tsujihara, the head of Warner Brothers, mm-hmm. I guess he announced to investors prematurely before all the paperwork was signed that Ben Affleck was going to direct.
Yep.
So Ben Affleck was kind of pissed off at that. I think Ben Affleck wants more control, and he's a creative guy. I mean,
yeah.
I have like inside information.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. My boss used to be he used to work for Warner Brothers, and he has a lot of friends in Hollywood. And back when they were talking about redoing Star Wars, and they were shopping, or they were scheduling meetings with people. Mm-hmm. My former boss's friend was the one taking the notes for those meetings. So he was there when all the filmmakers were coming in and pitching their ideas, and he said hands down, Ben Affleck had the best idea for Star Wars. But then J.J. Abrams came in. He spoke, each person had an hour to pitch their idea. Mm-hmm. He spoke for 5 minutes about the story, then spoke the next 15 minutes about merchandising and marketing, and they really liked the sound of that, and so they went with him. So my faith in Ben Affleck's creative ability and is really high. I think you don't get an Oscar for for best screenplay without, being a good writer and a good idea guy in general. I think he wants more control, and I think that this was more control was given to him to placate him, because right now he's sort of like the biggest thing the DC universe has going for it. His star power and his Batman was the greatest thing about BVS, and the announcement that he is directing, again, we talked about in the last podcast, is huge, and just like from what we've heard since then about how it's not going to be the Red Hood storyline. That's the rumor right now. It's going to be more like an Arkham game where they do have, which was what I was excited for, just like, a bunch of villains. Like it breaks into Arkham Asylum? I don't know, but they just mentioned that there's going to be a ton of villains in there. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a great thing. If you turned Arkham, because Arkham City, like my favorite Batman game, though I haven't played Arkham Knight yet, it had a ton of villains, and it totally worked. If you can make a movie out of that, that would be the best Batman movie, hands down. Just like one crazy night. I have a question. Yeah. Do you enjoy lying about your Hollywood connections? It's not a lie. I have no Hollywood connections. I just know a guy who told me a story. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool story, bro. So what else is going on in the DC universe? What happened to Seth Grahame-Smith? Seth Grahame-Smith left as director for The Flash, as a director over creative differences, allegedly, I guess. Which is fine. I mean, it's happened to Marvel directors too. Yeah. I remember Patty Jenkins left Thor 2. And then we got that Game of Thrones guy, Alan Taylor? Yeah, I can't remember his name. Yeah. And, of course, there was the big news with Edgar Wright. Yeah. Who was replaced by Peyton Reed. But that was still a fantastic movie. And you could sense a lot of Edgar Wright's influence in Ant-Man. And, of course, I mean, the reason they gave for this is the reason they give for every director leaving. It's creative differences. I'm not upset by it just because I never wanted him as the director in the first place. Yeah. I could, It would be his first film, yes? It would be his directorial debut, and you don't give a blockbuster like The Flash to a first-time newbie director. I read the synopsis for Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I thought it was funny. But did he direct that, or no? He wrote the book. He wrote it. Okay. He's a novelist. He's written like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. He's written Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters or something like that. Seems like a funny guy, and he's still getting writing credit on it. Okay. Or a story credit at least. Yeah, no, he's getting a writing credit because the story credit is going to the guys who did the Lego Movie. Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Yes. Yeah. Oh, they wrote it? Or they did the story treatment for it, yeah. Nice. Yeah. So who do you want as a director for The Flash? I know a lot of people don't like him, but I like Kevin Smith. He just directed an episode of The Flash TV show. Give him the movie. Why not? He would do a fantastic job. I think he would. I mean, well, okay, before I say that, I should see the episode he directed. But for right now... Well, I'm basing this off of like Dogma and... I haven't seen Tusk. I don't think I want to. I haven't seen it either. But I know he doesn't have the strongest action visual style. I think the only action movie I've ever seen of his was Cop Out, which was just a horrible movie. Yeah. But the action scenes weren't bad. I wonder if he had a good AD on that one. But it was the comedy that fell flat on that one. You could tell that he didn't write it, and he always directs things that he writes the best. Well, have you heard of his whole beef with Bruce Willis because of that movie? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Kevin Smith. I mean, other than that, there's a bunch of great directors. I really want to see. Who directed V for Vendetta? What was his name? Oh, he directed Ninja Assassin 2. Yeah. It has a T in it. McTeague? James McTeague. Is that it? Yes. Okay. I think that's it. We'll just say that's it. Maybe him. I know he has a good working relationship with Warner Brothers, I assume. Since they did Ninja Assassin and I think they did Ninja Assassin. Pretty sure they did. And I loved V for Vendetta. I think he's a great action director. I really liked Ninja Assassin. Saw it when I was in Korea. So I want him. Or
I think Duncan Jones would have made a good director for The Flash.
Actually, I heard he's up for it.
But he's doing Warcraft right now, so.
Well, no, but The Flash isn't for another 2 years.
That's true.
So there's plenty of time to find a new one. I don't. There's so much hate against the DC Cinematic Universe right now. Right when this news dropped, I saw way more people bashing, Zack Snyder for some reason than when the Marvel movies found new directors. It's ridiculous.
There was some bashing that went on then, but everybody got over it. Once the film was released, all this news that we're talking about now usually gets ignored and forgotten forever.
Yeah.
Who even remembers Patty Jenkins, and who cares?
Yeah.
I guess the exception to that would be Edgar Wright, because a lot of people after Ant-Man, they were saying this was a fantastic movie, yet I still would have liked to have seen what he would have done with it.
I'm sure.
So.
He definitely feels like his own thing, though. It wouldn't have been the Marvel Cinematic brand.
Yeah. I don't know if it would have gone in line with what their overall vision was. Maybe he is too out there. Although James Gunn is really out there. He's a kind of a similar director to Edgar Wright, I think, with his Slither movies and remember The Specials? That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, my favorite film of his was probably before Guardians of the Galaxy was probably still Super. Holy cow, that movie was crazy.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You should.
I should.
It's crazy.
But I think they give James Gunn, more of a creative license just due to the property. Guardians of the Galaxy has not really tied into the greater Marvel Universe story yet. So they kind of he had his own playground with that movie, kind of.
Yeah.
And is really overseeing all the creative stuff. Ant-Man ties into the Avengers, so you don't get as much of a free reign as Guardians.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyway, I think that's it for all the news. Kind of like you said, another short news week.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into the review?
Sure.
Who's doing the jingle this time?
Oh god, I think I might need redemption, but I'm not prepared again. Okay.
Do you want a beat?
No. Okay. Is
it going to be a rap or is it going to be something else?
My Valentine, it's time to review this film, 'cause I don't know the words that I am singing.
What song is that?
I don't know.
Isn't that a song?
I don't know.
Whatever. Okay. That was just got awful.
Thanks for the guitar back up. I was expecting something else. All right, whatever.
Hey, you were playing the air guitar, so I figured you had it handled.
In my head, I did.
All right. Okay. Civil War. Fantastic. Everything I wanted it to be. Surprisingly, not as faithful of an adaptation to the comic book story as I thought. It wasn't. They wildly diverged from that story. And
I'm not surprised. How are you surprised about that? The trailers were they didn't even touch on anything.
Yeah, well, I thought it was going to be more because in the Civil War story, the New Warriors, they blow up the school, or Nitro blows up the school while the New Warriors are attacking them, and then the laws come into effect, and then Captain America argues with Maria Hill, who's a total bitch in that story. And she's the one that really escalates things, I think, because they were just having a conversation, and all of a sudden she orders her men to point their guns at Captain America, and so she really forced his hand. I don't think most of the Civil War would have happened if it wasn't for her just freaking jumping the gun and being a crazy lunatic. Yeah. But anyway, so he escapes from there. He goes underground. And everybody just starts dividing up into teams.
Yeah.
And Mr. Fantastic and Tony Stark, they build the prison. And anyway, it was a little bit more political as well. This movie did not delve deep into the politics of it. They only had a few conversations about the morality or the ethics of the Accords. And so I think that some of the reviews, I think, were surprised by that. I think they were expecting a more political story. I was maybe expecting a little bit more political story, but the story that we got, I think it was still very intellectual. I loved Zemo as a bad guy. I loved... there were like a ton of different bad guys. There was like no main bad guy. Like General Ross could have been seen as the main antagonist, but his role was very small.
Zemo was the primary antagonist.
Could have been seen as the primary antagonist.
Okay, maybe antagonist is the wrong word. Villain.
What's the difference?
So, I mean, I would say Tony Stark was probably your primary antagonist. Just someone who's...
He got the most screen time.
Well, I mean, just someone who's like, who their agenda is counter to that of the protagonist.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I wouldn't say Iron Man was the villain, though. It was definitely Zemo. It's an interesting film. It's kind of complicated, but despite that, it was super digestible.
More so than Batman vs. Superman.
Absolutely. I was surprised how digestible this film was. Everything from the action scenes, you never lost track of anyone. I felt like, or at least I didn't feel like that. Mm-hmm. And from the action scenes to every character's motivation, I was actually really I wasn't surprised as I was watching the film, because you almost don't even notice it how streamlined every character's motivation fell in line with the film.
Even Black Panther, newcomers like that, how they introduced him into the story, I thought was seamless.
Yeah,
seamless.
I mean, you could go we could go down to each character, list their motivation, and it's it was totally understandable where each character was coming from.
Yeah,
and in fact, I kind of want to do that later. If we could break down each character.
Sure, if you want to.
But first, in terms of the storyline, the opening scene with
Winter Soldier,
with Winter Soldier taking out the Starks, that was interesting. I didn't, for some reason, I only saw Winter Soldier last week, because I figured I should get do my homework before this film. Mm-hmm. I saw it for the first time last week. I didn't catch on the fact that the Winter Soldier killed the Starks, because when what's his name, Armin Zola was explaining that the history of Hydra and how they were essentially growing in the shadows and changing things and changing things towards their favor. They never explicitly said that the Winter Soldier killed the Starks, and that actually kind of bothered me in the film when...
No, but it was heavily implied.
It was heavily implied, you're right. And...
So much so that everybody kind of got that.
No, because the people I saw it with, they didn't... When I asked them at the end of the film when we were talking about it, I was like, how did Captain America know that Bucky killed the Starks? And they were like, I don't know.
Did they not see Winter Soldier?
They did.
Were they not paying attention?
It wasn't explicitly said. I mean, I'm not surprised, because I didn't catch it either. I when I texted you and you explained it to me, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I rewatched the scene. I was like, yeah, I guess I guess Cap could say he knew, sort of. So I guess that worked. But yeah, the opening scene, and you really don't get to see the brutality of it until the end of the film. But
yeah, he really fucked them up.
It's really interesting to see how involved the Winter Soldier has been throughout history.
Yeah,
I don't. When I saw Winter Soldier, I thought he was pretty cool. So there were some scenes in the Winter Soldier where I thought it should just be him instead of a crew, the whole Hydra crew. But I guess he works for Hydra. Did he work for Hydra in the comics? He works for...
No, he worked for Alexander Lukin, who was a communist. He was a communist. He wasn't part of Hydra.
But no, he's still a cool character, and he was still cool in this movie too. Then I really liked the way they used him, just with how they set up at the beginning of this film, how he's he's still brainwashed and he could still be triggered.
Yeah,
so that
very fragile mental state.
It totally made sense, in the trailers, for what we saw in the trailers, how he's still sort of that he can be that villain character. It's why is he shooting Tony Stark when he's a good guy? That kind of thing. So yeah, I liked that setup. That was a great setup.
Yeah, I think it was.
I love the way they expand upon previous films without interrupting what's the word? It's not continuity. What's the word I'm thinking of? Canon. That's what I'm thinking of. They're able to like go back and like I don't want to even say tweak canon, but like reveal new canon that fits in with the storyline.
Yeah, and that's a great way to use continuity to your advantage. Kind of like show these people in ways, or like just still have all these surprises, even though you feel like you know these characters. There's still reveals to be had, and that's like going back to a discussion we had a long time ago about the whole DC Rebirth thing about the New 52. I like when writers do that, when they work with the continuity they're given and still find ways to excite us. I hate reboots with a passion. So I'm glad. I hope they don't have to do it with Marvel for a long time. I think this movie, part of what made this movie so good was the continuity that they had set up and the relationships between the characters and what?
Canon. You're saying continuity.
Well, what's the difference?
That's a good question. Continuity is like the order of events, but canon is like the order of or like, I don't know.
Whatever, dude.
I don't know.
I think he was saying it correct because the continuity that they have built up is part of the appeal. I think people who are seeing a Marvel movie for the first time and choosing to see this one for as their first Marvel movie are just going to be lost. They're going to be like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah.
And this is really one of the first times that Marvel has done that, because I feel like a lot of the other films, they kind of, they don't, try to hold the viewer's hand too much. They do kind of give a kind of small introduction to the character. Like, for example, in The Winter Soldier, for people who hadn't seen the first Captain America movie, he makes a visit to the museum, which was kind of a roundabout way of this is Captain America, he was a World War II hero, this is his friend Bucky. And
absolutely, yeah.
So just little plot devices like that, I think. And this one didn't really have any of that.
If this movie has any drawback, because it's a really great film, it's probably my favorite Marvel film to date, like next to the Avengers. If this film has any flaw, and I don't really want to get into it because I actually really liked the movie, was that it can't hold its own on its own.
That's valid. Yeah.
Just because, like, if I didn't see The Winter Soldier last week, I would have been totally screwed.
Yeah, that's why I said you got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the Lagos scene? I thought it was pretty good. There was great action in that scene. I think I like how they just kind of like start right out of the gate with just badassery. Falcon was super badass, I think, and probably cooler in this
with his cool, like using his wings as shields and
stuff. Yeah, he's probably cooler in this movie than I think he's ever been in the comics.
Did he do that in Ant-Man?
No, well, he wasn't shooting him with guns in Ant-Man, so he didn't use him as a shield.
I thought he was shooting him with guns in Ant-Man. He pulled out his guns in Ant-Man. Yeah, he did.
No, Ant-Man did not shoot Falcon with guns.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So he didn't have to use a shield.
Yeah. He used his wings. But way cool.
But Red Wing,
I want those wings.
In the comics, Red Wing is an actual bird, and Falcon can see through his eyes.
Yeah. Way cooler to make him a drone.
Yeah, way cooler to make him a drone and have special goggles. He is very much. They kind of reinvented him as kind of like the reconnaissance man, as like the intel guy who can like scout the field, and
very much a scout.
Yeah, a scout, and he has some pretty cool gadgets. I think maybe they gave him too many, a little bit too many gadgets. I think they went slightly overboard with the dual rockets on his shoulders that could like launch up and then drop down onto the bad guys. Do you remember that scene?
Oh yeah, it's sort of like Boba Fett's like jetpack backpack.
Yes.
I didn't mind that. He's like a Swiss Army knife.
They almost make him a little bit like Iron Man when they do stuff like that. I'm good with the guns because he used to be a soldier in this version. And everything. I love Redbird. I love giving him like little things.
Yeah.
Like little weapons and stuff like that. But maybe just the shoulder rockets. It seems like too much artillery.
When you get to the point where Iron Man is supplying weapons for everyone, I mean, because like they did it with Spider-Man, like Iron Man gave him a new suit. This Falcon's new suit had to come from Iron Man.
Well, yeah.
Who else could develop that tech?
Well, no, he explains it in Avengers: Age of Ultron. He's like, I just, pay for everything, design everything. And he definitely. I'm surprised that Cap didn't have his magnetic shield forearm gadget, where he can like call his shield back to him using the magnet on his forearm.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought that was a pretty cool advancement to his
it was
his
cool.
abilities. I noticed there was one thing at the end of the movie. He he pulled out a
Like a
grappling hook. It was a grappling hook.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I was like,
Since when?
When has Cap had? How come he hasn't used that before? Like, there was a scene in the beginning of the movie in Lagos where Scarlet Witch lifts him and tosses him through the window. I was like, oh, well, like if he has a grappling hook,
great use.
I guess it's faster. Anyway, that's kind of a nitpick, but I thought Scarlet Witch was cool. I thought her telekinesis was cool. I thought it was nice how she was able to kind of like draw out, and it seems like more like telekinesis because in the comic books, as we know, Scarlet Witch is not a telekinetic.
No.
She can pull off amazing feats like sucking a pathogen out of a building or a nerve gas or whatever that was
cool.
And then like shoot
she
it up.
Definitely did that.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. They're using telekinesis in new and different ways.
I had a hard time sort of explaining to my friend who I saw it with, like sort of what her powers were. She can create these spheres that can distort reality, but she uses magic to assist in that distortion.
Oh, in the comics?
Yeah.
Oh, so she has probability altering powers that can distort the reality of events, and she can affect them using her hex spheres or her hex bolts. She used to be able to use chaos magic to get the result that she wants to kind of affect that and augment her probability altering powers, but it turns out that chaos magic wasn't real and it kind of made her crazy and she ended up destroying the Avengers. But
wait, chaos magic wasn't real?
No, it wasn't.
Then
Doctor Strange revealed that because she was studying with Agatha Harkness, who was a witch, about how to use chaos magic. And then Doctor Strange, during the events of Avengers Disassembled, was like, "There's no such thing as chaos magic. I'm the Sorcerer Supreme." So they're like, "Oh."
So she's been actually controlling things this whole time?
Yeah. So it's probability and reality altering powers, basically.
Yeah.
That she manifests in the form of these energy.
Which is why they gave her telekinesis.
Yeah, it's really complicated.
Although I forget who said it. It was the Russo brothers or like one of the other producers. They were saying that you would see a fully fledged Scarlet Witch in the Infinity War films.
Okay. Yeah, I can
which
see
is
that.
interesting. And I was saying, well, I wonder if like they bring Doctor Strange into it, and maybe that's like the Doctor Strange like end credit scene. Maybe he trains
Transfer magic or something.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
maybe. Yeah, it would be cool. But I wonder if they'll do it. I wonder if they'll do that.
I don't think that they can affect her powers to do anything that she's not already capable of doing with her powers now. Although,
she
like,
control, she has like mind control. She has telekinesis. She's like Jean Grey in a way.
yeah, she's a little bit like Jean Grey. Although she doesn't have like straight telepathy. It's more like illusion casting, like mental illusions.
Yeah.
In their brain, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Black Widow. So I've never been a fan of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow.
she's probably the most miscast Avenger.
But
she's not. I mean, she's a big star, but I mean,
in the I don't know if it's her voice or just her acting or both. I don't know.
it's
Anyway,
her delivery.
I'm always surprised by how much they get Black Widow to surprise me. She was really good in the Lagos scene.
Yeah, like when the guy dropped the grenade, and then that was a little kind of far-fetched. I don't think she would have survived that. Because like it blasted the door back, and she used the guy as a shield, but she flew out of there, and yet she got up and started running right away.
It's like for a person with no powers, she holds her own and then some.
Yeah.
In situations that...
and same with Hawkeye.
Yeah, I mean, but I think to a greater extent, Black Widow, because we've seen her go through way more than Hawkeye.
I would agree. Yeah, even in the final, in the big battle airport scene, when she was holding her own against everybody else.
And like with Hawkeye, like they kept breaking his damn bow in this film. Like first it was Vision, and then it was
Black Panther,
and it's like, oh, he's like, oh shit, I guess I'm out of the fight.
Bye guys. No, he could still throw things. He's a marksman. He's not just an archer, but I don't know. Yeah. That was a great scene. I definitely want to talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So we have the introduction of the Accords. There was the weird scene, or not weird.
What did you think of Crossbones?
Smaller role than I thought he was going to have.
Did he die? He died.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. He blew himself up.
That made sense because like later on in the film, I was like, who's the villain of this? Where did I thought he was going to have, I guess, a larger role. I don't know why. I thought he was going to have a role throughout the film.
He's a major Captain America villain. He's got to be like in Captain America's top 5 villains, and so it's kind of a shame that they got rid of him so quick. But
they'll just come back more deformed next time.
like Jigsaw.
Yeah. Although his face was pretty messed up.
His face was pretty messed up, yeah. But he knew he was going to die. They were like, "Where are we going to meet up?" And he was like, "We're not."
I don't know why he blamed Tony, or why he blamed Steve Rogers for the building falling on him when in Winter Soldier he was fighting Falcon. I thought he would be more mad at Falcon. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, well, it was Steve Rogers' fault why the helicarriers started blowing each other up and they started falling from the sky. So
it was him and Falcons because they both put
that's
those
true.
Chips.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He played a 33% role in that.
Yeah.
The action during that whole scene right prior to him blowing him up with Black Widow fighting the guys who were holding the virus, that was a little bit too much shaky cam. I felt like there was more shaking. Like even when they were like standing still, it was like somebody was having a seizure behind the camera. And I wasn't the only one that thought that. I had the first thing one of my friends told me was, "What was up with that action scene and all the shaking?" It was hard to make out what was happening. So I was like, "Oh yeah." But luckily, that's the only time that they did that. I think the rest of the action was...
I've seen a few complaints about that online, and honestly, I saw this in 3D. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, I guess, but there's more of a parallaxing effect, so it might be toned down a little bit in 3D. Maybe. I didn't notice it at all, honestly. I didn't have a problem with it.
Cool. All right, so going to the Accords, we have Tony Stark with CGI face during... They gave him CGI face during the scene where he was in his memory kind of saying goodbye to his parents.
That was a weird scene.
That was weird. I thought
why reveal something like that?
I think just to set up his relationship with his parents so you get the payoff later on in the movie when he finds out that they were brutally murdered. You have some kind of emotional connection, and his actions are validated.
Yeah. I still don't think they were, but yeah, to an extent. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
The scene,
what did you think of Vision wearing clothes? I thought it was hilarious when he came through the wall and she was like, "Vision, we talked about this." And he was like, "Oh, the door was open."
There's someone in here. No.
The door was open, so I thought.
A relationship later on. I was like, there's something going on. But no, like, even before that, I want to go back to the pretty powerful scene where the mother, like...
Oh, Miriam Sharp.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was her name in the movie, but it was pretty much the same character from the comics. The mom, her kid died, and she really like guilt tripped Tony Stark into going with the Accords, that
was a very powerful scene. Like I felt the tension, like when she reached into her purse. I was like, "Ah!"
Don't shoot him.
Yeah. And then like when it might as well have been a gun because it was pretty impactful.
And the state that Tony Stark was in when the team met up and they were talking about right after General Ross left, the emotional state that you could see that he was in, where he was just like they had a headache or something. He was just really racked.
Yeah.
I thought it was very convincing acting by Tony Stark, and everybody who was confused why he would side with the government because prior to the movie's release, and because they were saying like this is the guy who in Iron Man 2 who like pretty much told the senator to eat it and stuff, and now he's siding with the government. You totally you get this huge arc across many films, and he's a different person now.
Absolutely. And
it goes back to continuity or canon or whatever you prefer. And then right after that, we have the funeral scene, and I remember when we first saw Winter Soldier, you're like, how come Sharon didn't tell him that she was Peggy's niece?
I was telling you the whole time.
She's like, when's it gonna happen?
I'm waiting for it. He's gonna learn that that's Peggy Carter's daughter or niece.
Yeah. So and then you finally get that reveal.
You got to. How many times have you seen this film now?
I've seen Civil War twice now.
You got to see it early.
Yeah, it's the Saturday after it was released, so it's currently May 7th. I got to go to a special screening on Tuesday, so I saw it a couple days before everybody else. And then again on Thursday.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you already knew when I was asking that question.
Yes, I already knew
the answer. Okay.
Yeah. So she revealed that. What did you think of the relationship between Sharon and Steve?
I'm glad he kissed her.
It finally builds into something with the kiss, which was a fantastic moment.
Yeah. Great touch of humor.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the audience was doing the same thing, like, finally,
like nodding and smiling. And then you see Falcon and Winter Soldier doing that too. But I feel like the two actors don't have too much chemistry. Did you get that vibe at all?
I didn't think that.
No?
I think they're both really solid actors.
He's so earnest that it almost...
I thought it was like a little rushed, maybe.
There's no sultriness between them, I think, because his portrayal, Steve Rogers' portrayal of Captain America...
asexual.
A little bit. And in the first Winter Soldier movie, his relationship with Peggy started off with a little bit of jealousy, like he maybe thought like Howard Stark was with her, but then it kind of was a weird platonic. They didn't get to spend a whole lot of time together, even though you could tell that they cared for each other. He was always a little bit awkward, and she was just a bombshell. But you don't really get a lot of that in this movie. It's kind of like a lot of awkward just talking. And
in Winter Soldier, like he made it kind of like implicit that or explicit that he wasn't interested in any kind of romantic anything. So it's like, oh, okay, he's gay or asexual or I don't know, something like that.
It's just he said he doesn't have the time because he's so busy.
Yeah. And I heard a lot of gasps in the theater when he kissed her. And I've actually even heard someone say, "What?"
You know what someone behind me said?
What?
You could tell that they hadn't really seen a lot of these movies because there's a lady behind me at the first showing who was like, "Aren't they cousins?"
Oh my god!
And the guy next to her was like that was I had to turn around in my seat and look at her and just be like, "What the fuck did I just hear?" No, they're not cousins. But the guy who was next to her he was like, "What? No." She was like,
"No, just no."
She was like, "Oh, I thought he was related to Peggy." I was like, okay, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, that would have been awkward. So then we go into the Accord signing at the UN building. There's the explosion. Zemo, I guess, is wearing a mask that looks like Winter Soldier,
which is appropriate for Zemo. I think that's the one thing they got right with Zemo was sort of like the hidden or I don't know how to call it. Mistaken identity.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah. I thought his plan was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant in a way that was hard to set up but easy to follow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You understood his motivations. They definitely worked
backwards from it.
Yeah.
And it was I was trying to find because when I first saw the film, I was like, well, first of all, how did Cap know that Bucky killed the Starks, and then how did Zemo know that Iron Man was going to follow them to the Winter Soldier base? But then you explained it for me, and I was just working back first, and I was like, that totally makes sense. His plan was
I feel
perfect.
There were when it comes to movies like this where the villain has a grand master plan that is revealed as the story goes, like The Dark Knight. The Joker.
Oh, with the Joker.
I think there were more plot holes in that than there were there were almost no holes in Zemo's plan.
Well, yeah, with the Joker, The Dark Knight, he had to know that he was going to get captured and sent to jail and stuff like that.
And the guy with the phone was going to be put right next to him. There were a lot of variables in the Joker's plan.
There were a lot of conveniences.
Yes.
And I mean, there's some in here too, but it was set up really well.
Yeah, it was he's making some assumptions, but it happens so organically. All the decisions that these characters make in this film feel organic and not kind of you don't really question them. No, yeah. So I think there were safe assumptions on Zemo's part. And
that being said, though,
yeah,
I do consider Zemo to be the primary villain of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they kind of did the character a disservice, despite how
because he didn't have the mask.
How genius his plan was, and you just weren't emotionally invested in him.
I was emotionally invested, especially the second time I saw the movie when it's revealed that the message that he's listening to, the first time he's listening to the message from his family, from his wife, it looks like he just missed a call.
I knew right away when I first saw that.
I had no idea. And then all of a sudden, he's playing it in the snow at the last scene right before he's about to kill himself. His motivations were super sad.
And I don't know if it was the actor, because I think the actor did a pretty good job. I just didn't. He always felt like a secondary background character, maybe.
Which is kind of what the role called for.
I kind of feel like if they would have gone someone with more star power, it would have been better. it would have been more impactful. Or if they just made him more like made him grander, made him bigger. You know, like in the comics, you know, he's like this. He's a baron. You know.
Yeah, he is very grandiose in the comics.
And I never never got attached or like got like emotionally connected with him again. I did. I mean, it's another one of those things that like people say about, you know, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is as great as it is. They always kind of fall short in their villains, with exception to probably Loki. I don't think this film changed that in any way.
Do you think we'll see? I think we'll see Zemo again. I think they didn't kill him off at the end because I think he's coming back, and he's probably going to be back more like how he is in the comics, maybe with the mask and everything. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Why not? Why not bring back another villain? Not just Loki, but have one actually grow. You know, and show some you know, kind of like Iron Man or again Loki. Get us more attached to the villains. Don't just make them, you know, like shades of the villains.
Yeah.
Give some depth.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which I think that, again, they tried to do in this one, but half the time you don't know what's going on with the character. So it's hard. It's hard to connect with them.
Maybe he'll be the villain in the next Black Panther movie, because it seems like he's being held in. Oh, that's true. Claw. It has to be Claw. What did you think of Black Panther?
I'll be honest. I was really looking forward to seeing the character, and I thought he was great in the film. But I was kind of disappointed because I thought he was going to be bigger and badder, and I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. I expected him to be more badass in the movie. Like he definitely he had the cool scene where they're running through the tunnel and stuff like that. But, like, after that, like, he's just another guy fighting with claws. I mean, Black Panther should be like Batman, like an extreme version of Batman, where he throws, like, energy blades and...
Yeah, he didn't have his Kimoyo cards or his energy blades or anything.
He was just, like, Black Widow, I guess, just, like, a good fighter in the end.
Yeah, I'll say that his performance, what's his name?
Chadwick
Boseman. I think his performance was fantastic. His accent was on point.
Okay, so there's one thing I didn't like about his accent. He sounded like he had smoked too many cigarettes or something. It was really like old man voice. It's like when like in Hotel Rwanda when
Don Cheadle.
When Don Cheadle did his African accent. It was like almost he like threw some Marlon Brando Godfather in there. Like he talked like he's like, I am king, and when you are, and I am also warrior.
Holy God. That is super racist, man.
What?
It sounded like you were going Asian for a second there.
Oh, okay, that's racist.
No,
wait,
you said warrior.
That's how I am king.
Let's not do accents anymore.
I wasn't trying to be insulting. I was just trying to no, but I mean
it was a little gravelly.
It was super gravelly because I've seen him in films before. He doesn't have that voice. No. I don't know why he went that direction.
I think his voice sounded really cool when he was wearing the mask.
It sounded authoritative for sure.
He was like, I don't care.
But he still didn't need to go that gravelly with it.
Yeah.
That bugged me because like when he was talking, I was like, when they do the Black Panther film, is he really going to have that voice the whole time? Like, I wouldn't even mind if like in the Black Panther film, if he just went like normal non-gravelly voice, and like they didn't even need to explain it, because I would just accept. I'd be like, oh, okay, this is the way it should have been done from the beginning. I understand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I found myself thinking that as he was speaking. I
kind of feel like he also was not given enough to do. His whole story was kind of just, it was the revenge story. I love his arc though, like kind of how he learned his lesson at the end.
Yeah.
So I was slightly underwhelmed by him, but none of the people that I saw...
That's what the word I was looking for. Slightly underwhelmed.
None of the people that I saw the movie with felt the same way.
Really?
They loved the Black Panther. And I think it has to do with...
It's a great aesthetic.
With expectations. Me having read a lot of Black Panther comics, I know what his potential, how badass he can be.
He's supposed to be silent. He's supposed to be... I mean...
He was silent, though. That was cool.
He was... I heard...
His vibranium suit.
For that. No,
they can't make it completely
when I told my
silent.
friend that... Yeah, when they said that, like... he's like, your suit is vibranium. I think they kind of did a disservice there, too. It's like, you have to understand, like, his suit... Yeah, it's made of the same stuff as Cap's shield, but it's like, it's threaded, it's laced with vibranium. It's not like a metal suit.
Right. I love how the bullets were bouncing off of him.
I love
and
that
how
scene.
he was able to catch Hawkeye's arrows and they exploded like right next to his head and didn't do anything because it like absorbed the vibration. And he was I think I'm excited for his movie.
I would totally wear that costume for Halloween. I
mean, it is one of the cooler costumes.
Marvel, but I would want to.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, like,
it's right up there with the Iron Man suit. I think in terms of cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would say it's cooler, just because I kind of like skew towards like the Batman kind of like dark, like in the shadows kind of ninja aesthetic, and that's it's perfect. It's a perfect suit.
Yeah, and that action scene that he debuted in was.
I loved that they were running faster than the cars.
Like not too much faster. Like the cars. I mean, Cap got into a car because he knows that ultimately the car can go faster than they can run. But because I assume the cars are only going like 30 miles an hour or something. But yeah, that was fantastic.
They're good runners. Like, I wish I could run like that.
Yeah,
just like run like
sprint.
A badass.
Yeah, that was a cool scene. I think the argument that it was like the big central thesis of the movie was when Iron Man brought the pens, FDR's pens, to Cap, and they kind of had that back and forth. Yeah, I thought that was a great scene. And then power goes out. Winter Soldier escapes. And they go out and they kind of regroup, and that's when they start recruiting. Yeah, the people to their team. Yeah, and
that was done a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
What do you mean?
Done. Like I wasn't sure how the recruiting was going to be done, but it was, like we said earlier, very organic. And I have no idea what I expected it to be, but I expected it to be choppy, I guess, in some way. Iron Man or Spider-Man's scene, I think, was probably like the most like take you out of the film moment. And to that extent, probably the least organic, but it was also really enjoyable.
They needed to kind of devote that much time to him, though, to set him up. It was like a 5-minute scene, but I mean, it was exciting to see, and it took you out of the film, yes, but it also made you appreciate the character more when you saw him, in his Spider-Man gear, and he was fighting. He felt almost developed, and I had a big smile on my face the whole scene. Especially when he was talking to Tony Stark, but I mean, he didn't flat out say my Uncle Ben died, but he said, and he didn't say with great power comes responsibility, but he said,
more or less,
he said when you can do what I can do, and you don't, and the bad things happened, they happen because of you. Yeah. Which is a roundabout way of saying that. It was,
because the whole audience knew what he was talking about. Tony didn't, but it was just kind of like a nice, again, there's a theatrical term for that, dramatic irony, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was dramatic.
Where the audience knows something.
It was ironic, right? Yeah. Yeah. That the characters don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really well done. I wanted to see him in his suit. Like we got like flashes of it when he was projecting the hologram on his phone.
And his hoodie goggles.
Was it a hoodie? You can't even tell. It was. They were like really big goggles.
They were. I love the way they explained that that he needs them, and it's a good way to okay, so we all know the real reason that his eyes can move like that, could go in and out, is so he can convey emotion through the mask. Right. But the way they rationalized it by saying that his spider sense, when his spider sense goes off,
his senses in general are like heightened, so he needs that to like sort of like focus and like tone down all the white noise.
Yeah. Great scene. I think it was a nice little reunion for.
I had heard that. Sorry.
For Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. No, I heard that Tom Holland was, when they first did like the initial like fan screening and stuff like a month ago, and people were like, oh yeah, he's just as good as RDJ, and he totally holds his own with RDJ. I agreed.
Yeah, I think he did.
He was hilarious. He was great.
Yeah, he made me laugh a lot. He wasn't. I won't say he's the funniest character in the movie, but he was the second funniest for sure. Especially when he's like, I would have stuck the landing, but the new suit. Oh, I love the suit. He was like, oh no, we don't have to have a conversation. He's like, okay, yep, Cap. Everybody else, hey, I'm Spider-Man. It was just so naive. No,
I don't want to jump ahead to that scene too soon, but I just have to say. You have the right to remain silent. I was cracking up so hard. That was such a great Spider-Man.
I told my wife Melissa. I told her that until you see a character done right, you don't know. But like, okay, so like I always used to be a big defender of the 2003 Daredevil movie. I was like, Matt Murdock is, Ben Affleck did a great job as Matt Murdock, and he did. I mean, but it wasn't until the Netflix show, and you see the true portrayal of Matt Murdock, and you're like, I was wrong about 2003 movie. The 2003 movie is worse in my eyes. Daredevil movie is worse in my eyes once the Netflix show came out, and now like Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's performances, their Spider-Man are less Spider-Man in my eyes than Tom Holland. I think this is the ideal interpretation of the character as this motor mouth character. Have
you ever been in a fight before? Because there's usually not this much talking.
Yeah, he's like, oh, sorry, man. Yeah. So wait, let's not skip over there. Yeah. So they get Hawkeye. They call up Hawkeye to grab Scarlet Witch, and again, great like they pick up motivations Ant-Man. For the characters. Yeah, Scarlet Witch, and I loved how Tony Stark didn't understand why Scarlet. He was like, she was in a place that she wanted to be, a safe place. It's like, no, she didn't want to be a prisoner. Yeah, I mean, she's fine being there. She just didn't want to be held there against her will. Exactly. Yeah. And it was cool how she kind of took over the mind gem, because that's where her powers originated from. Right. And so maybe she has some kind of relationship with it. And I wonder if she'll play a kind of Adam Warlock role in the Infinity War, because Adam Warlock had a relationship with the Soul Gem and was able to use that to his advantage. I don't know. Spoiler? I don't know. Anyway, so I thought it was cool how she like made Vision super dense and he like flew through the ground.
Yeah, she like controlled his powers.
Yeah.
Vision was... I
think he was underused in the final fight. Sure. Kind of like...
Because like right when I heard like they were doing Civil War and like people were going to be choosing sides, I was like, well, whose Vision side going to be on? Because that's the person who's going to win because he's so powerful.
I think that's why he didn't show up for like the first half of that battle. He didn't like show up until they had like the standoff kind of thing. Yeah. But he was cool in the stuff that he had. I think they did great relationship building with him and Scarlet Witch when he was trying to cook for her and just like his motivations too, very logical, very. The stuff that he had, I think he was good in. I think.
Yeah. Again, you understand everyone except for maybe. I guess why did Hawkeye join Cap's team?
Because they needed him, and he's the utility guy.
Yeah, I could see him just like not wanting to like he has his family. He wants to do this on his terms, and if the government was involved, it would be on their terms.
Right.
So.
Right.
So all of this, and then so who else do we have on Iron Man's team?
War Machine. I thought I think
his made the most sense.
Yeah, he gave great arguments for his role. Like when he was arguing with Sam, he's like, 117 governments signed this, Sam. You know
exactly. Are you better than 117 governments?
Black Widow's was.
Well, she
ended like a lesser version. Yeah, she was kind of a double agent.
It makes sense that she was.
Her perspective was more along the lines of, like when she said, "If you have one hand on the wheel, you can still steer." So she saw it as more of a necessary evil. She didn't agree with the Accords, but she understood that this was the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
She wasn't like a true believer, but
let me ask you this. Whose side were you on? Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
Whenever I think about this,
before the movie, like in all the marketing stuff, it was just like, oh, which character is like your favorite? But now that like you saw the film and you understood the situation, the context of Team Cap and Team Iron Man,
I hold more of a compromise view. I think that they should be held accountable. But I think that it should not be the government that is that is responsible for sending them out. I think the heroes should form their own kind of committee and have an election process in which they elect a superhero that they trust in order to kind of head that team.
That's very democratic of you.
Yeah, I don't think they should go about willy-nilly and unaccounted for and fighting their own battles. But I don't think that they should. I don't think that people with governments with agendas should be dictating their actions either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it should be someone leading them that they can trust. Like, so not General Ross, maybe Tony Stark, maybe Steve Rogers. I think.
Yeah, General Ross. I mean, I wish they kind of did more with him too. He definitely wasn't Thunderbolt Ross.
Well, he was retired, it sounds like, and then they brought him back as a Secretary of State.
I would have loved to have seen some kind of interaction with the Hulk or with Bruce Banner in those scenes with him, because now I feel like I kind of missed that. I hope they bring him back, and I hope they involve Bruce Banner.
If Bruce Banner and Thor were in this movie, I think Bruce Banner would be on Team Iron Man, and I think Thor would be on Team Cap.
I think the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I think Thor is very much like order, and like, you know, he's a monarch, you know. So I think he would be on the side of government, and I think Bruce is more like running from the government. The government's always chasing him down, so he wouldn't want them to control him.
But I think Thor thinks so highly of himself that he wouldn't put himself under government rule, and I think Bruce Banner feels so guilty about his actions and responsible that he would feel that this would be a necessary step.
I think Thor would be okay with that if he's the one in control. I don't know.
That's conjecture.
Yeah. It all is.
I think this takes us up to the big fight. Definitely the climax of the film.
That's not the climax of the film?
I think the fight is the climax of the film. I think it has kind of like a more traditional Shakespearean arc where the climax is in the middle. And the last fight with between Iron Man and Bucky and Steve.
That's the climax.
I would say that's like an emotional climax, but the fight is not nearly as exciting or spectacular.
I guess it depends on what storyline you're looking at, because there are a few going on, kind of. Definitely after the fight, there's like a new storyline going on, especially once Iron Man learns that Captain America wasn't lying to him. Yeah. There's a kind of shifts to a new story arc in a way. Yeah. It's much less about like the whole like personal freedom versus safety kind of argument, and it becomes more of they're fighting each other because Iron Man's pissed off that his parents were killed by Bucky.
Yeah, it's more of a vengeance thing. Yeah. Did we just skip over the big fight?
Okay, no, we didn't. We're going back to that right now. Who haven't we talked about yet? Ant-Man.
His motivations.
He likes Cap, and he's not afraid of being.
I think it's more out of friendship. I think he wants to be.
He wants to be one of the guys.
One of the guys. Yeah. He probably had the weakest motivations out of all the characters. However, every single moment with him when he was on screen was just pure gold. Yeah. He was the funniest character in this movie for me.
Really?
Yeah,
by far. I didn't laugh as much with. I mean, I definitely laughed with him, not as much as "You have the right to remain silent."
You didn't laugh at the when he shrunk back down from Giant Man and he was like, "Does anybody have any orange slices?"
that was fun. No, my favorite part was like, "Oh, something just went in me."
Yeah, when Vision went through him.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. And I like how he called it. He didn't know anybody's name, so he called Hawkeye Arrow Guy.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. I love
how he tries to be a badass. He's just.
It was cool when he was one of the first fights that were going down when they first started fighting. He first went up against Black Widow, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of like
a little Spider-Man because he was.
Oh, that's right.
The shield.
Yeah, he was on the shield.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Holy, something's on my shield, or something's here."
Yeah, then he just punched him.
Yeah. So he was pretty cool at the beginning, and he took down Black Widow, which was cool. And then all of a sudden, he ran into one of her zappers, and it was like a bug zapper, and he he got blasted away. I thought that was hilarious. So Black Widow wins that fight. I guess Ant-Man beats Spider-Man.
Real quick question: you know how Falcon has that HUD kind of display? Yeah. Do you think Spider-Man has that as well? Since Iron Man designed his goggles.
That's a good question.
Because I know in Ant-Man, Falcon was able to track Ant-Man.
Right.
I wonder if Spider-Man has similar skills.
I hope not.
I hope not either. He shouldn't have a HUD. Actually, to jump way ahead to the post-credits scene when he had the laser thing with
it was his Spidey signal.
It was a Spidey signal, but with it was almost like a app. He had different apps.
Yeah.
I thought that was they're making him tech. They're making everyone super tech with Captain America and his grappling hook. And again, It's not a bad thing. It's just I don't know if I don't want all the characters to be Superman, Iron Man, like retrofitted.
As long as he's not able to do something that's wildly different than his natural abilities. Like, I don't have a problem with Falcon's tech. I have a problem with the rockets on his shoulders, but the whole drone thing where he can see through it. Yeah, and he's a tech guy now, and he's not in the comics, but, I guess his wings are tech, but they don't really change what he can do, his abilities. Yeah. As long as this Spidey signal thing doesn't allow him to do anything that he normally couldn't do, then I'm fine with it. As long as they could do like what a smartphone can, because Spider-Man carries around a smartphone. Yeah. Then sure, yeah. If you can access it, I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Access the web, just projects it. Anyway, back to the fight.
Yeah. So Black Panther versus Cap, that was kind of a stalemate.
I
love the triple kick. It was almost like it was like a Street Fighter kind of like spinning hurricane kick kind of thing.
It was kind of fake.
It was very CGI, but it was very Black Panther.
Yeah, if there's one other thing like gripe about the film besides just like the prerequisite films that you have to watch in order to understand this one, for me it was CGI. I think
Iron Man looked a little fake a few times.
War Machine looked a little fake. Spider-Man looked really fake, and especially Giant Man. Or I should say Ant-Man in Giant Man form looked really fake.
Yeah. I thought that looked fantastic. I thought Spider-Man looked good too. The only times that drew me out of the movie were some moments with Iron Man where his body was he was moving a little weird, and Black Panther was a little rubbery at times.
Yeah. But like even like there were some scenes like even back in Lagos, like when they were like throwing a car and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that car was fake.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I hope I'm pretty sure that out of the three Captain America films, this one unfortunately may age the worst just because of the CGI.
No, the first Captain America movie had shoddy CGI more than this.
Okay. I thought Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier was good. So many of those effects were practical. Yeah. A lot of what you saw was in camera. Yeah. All right, so let's see. So Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch went up against Iron Man. I thought Hawkeye had a good moment where he's like, you enjoying retirement? And he was like, well, I shot 18 holes, scored 18. I can't miss. And then he shot it, and he did miss, so we're led to believe, but it was a diversion, dropped all the cars on him, so I guess Scarlet Witch beat Iron Man.
Scarlet Witch beats everybody.
Scarlet Witch pretty much beat everybody. Yeah. Did anybody take her down?
She was down. She was down at the very end because Vision was like holding her.
Oh, War Machine did with his sonic cannon.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, War Machine had some sweet weapons, which is always cool to see.
Yeah, he had that like
he had like
that mace,
sword,
that like
kind of mace. Yeah,
it was like a.
It was almost like an auto like Aztec kind of like laser sword. I don't know.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. It broke, but he has really good artillery.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else happens? There was the Steve Rogers versus Peter Parker fight. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was a nice touch. It was like I'm from Brooklyn, or like.
He's like, where are you from? He's like Queens. He's like Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
That was well choreographed. I thought.
Yes.
Like the way like Cap took out kind of Spider-Man by like forcing him to like hold up the thing.
Yeah.
I think it was good strategy.
Yes, I thought it was cool when Spider-Man webbed him up, and then Captain America did that cool like parkour spin flip thing that kind of like pulled him into.
That. I didn't think that would have really happened. Spider-Man's stronger than that.
Not if he's taken off guard. There's the Cap and Spider-Man fight in the Civil War comic, and Captain America definitely holds his own. Yeah, Spider-Man is strong, but Captain America is just much more focused and a better fighter.
Spider-Man can lift 20 tons?
10.
Oh, 10 tons.
10 tons, yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was cool how Spider-Man was kicking the crap out of Winter Soldier and Falcon, and then Falcon like catches his web with Red Wing and like pulls him out of the window.
That was a good strategy.
That was a good.
He was like,
that was a hilarious moment.
He was like, "You couldn't think to do that earlier. I hate you." Good humor. Good humor.
Yeah, really good humor. This whole scene was just one of the most spectacular scenes, I think. Like if you're ranking all the scenes from all the superhero movies, this has got to be in the top. Scenes? Yeah, or not just fight scenes, just scenes in general. I think in terms of quality and spectacle. It's got to be in the top 3.
I'll say it's one of the best fight scenes for sure.
I think it ranks up there with the first Avengers movie, the whole attack on New York thing, because that was just one big spectacular spectacle.
Like that one like continuous shot kind of thing where it goes through all the.
Yeah. Like, if I only have to watch one scene from the movie, it's going to be this one. And I think this scene trumps any one scene that you would pull out of all the other movies, if you had to.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably one of the best fight scenes.
The best moment was maybe when Ant-Man grew into Giant Man.
Yeah.
Everyone in the theater, in both showings that I saw, just like screamed. They lost their damn minds. I don't know how many people knew that he could grow into Giant Man.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a surprise for a lot of people.
I heard another person say, "What?"
And it was like the reaction of the heroes themselves during that moment when Iron Man was like, "Okay, is anybody else hiding some fantastical power and everything?" And the look in Paul Rudd's eyes when he's like holding War Machine like he's an action figure or something, and he's like he's almost going cross-eyed from the happiness and everything.
I just wanted him to say, "King Kong ain't got shit on me." No, but another one of my favorite Spider-Man moments was, "Hey guys, I think I got an idea. Did you ever see that old Star Wars movie on the ice planet?" He's like, "Jesus, Stark, how old is this kid?"
So many good moments.
Yeah.
I want to watch that movie again. I gotta go see it again. I'm gonna probably see it like 5 times.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. It was good though. I actually planned on seeing it twice because I'm a slacker and like I didn't get my tickets for the film until Thursday, the day of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I was making plans with so many people. Like I actually had plans to see it twice, but I ended up not going the second time. So, but
What did you think of the reveal at the end of that fight where Black Widow was the double agent?
I saw it coming from the trailer. I thought the trailer kind of spoiled it.
Did it?
One of the trailers where she's like, what did she say to Iron Man? It was after when they were in the hospital with
I'm not the one
Rhodes.
who needs to watch her back or something.
I'm not the one who needs to watch their back. Yeah, for me that was spoiled.
That was kind of foreshadowed, yeah, or spoiled.
I do like Black Panther's resilience. He never took his eye off the prize.
No, yeah, he was just as resilient as Steve.
Yeah, I mean throughout the rest of the film to the end. I mean,
following him, tracking Iron Man.
Very stealthy.
His Wakanda stealth ship was pretty sweet looking.
Was that? I thought it was a Quinjet. I wasn't sure what it was.
No, it wasn't a Quinjet. It was a Wakandan jet.
How do you know that?
Because it looked different. And he doesn't. He's not an Avenger. He doesn't have access to the Quinjets.
That's true.
It was a Wakandan military stealth plane.
It's cool.
The scene where I don't know if it was the raft. I just call it the raft because that's the Marvel prison, and it was out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. The real raft is in space. No, it's in a different.
No,
dimension.
that was in the negative zone. But the raft is off of the coast of New York. That's where bad guys are held. Anyway, it was a good scene. I like the way he told off General Ross. I think it was hilarious when he was talking to the prisoners and he went up to Ant-Man. And Ant-Man was like, Pym always said never trust a Stark. And he was like, who are you? That was funny. It was cool to see him kind of once Zemo called the waitress in and the waitress saw the real psychiatrist. And so it kind of leaked that Zemo was the bad guy. And so Steve was right. So he was going to follow him.
Yeah, that's the part that I didn't catch that you explained to me after I saw it when I asked, how did Zemo know that Iron Man was going to follow him there? And you're like, well, he called the hotel.
He gave his hand away, basically.
Yeah, he called the hotel and told them to order him to bring food up to his room, and then the hotel lady found the dead body of the real psychiatrist. So that was going to leak.
So that intel got out there.
Good plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when he told Ross, he was like, oh yeah, I'll put you on hold. I like to see the little blinking light. And that was a great moment because that was kind of like where he showed that he wasn't just a Boy Scout.
A pawn.
Kind of. He wasn't a pawn. He wasn't going to be Ross's pawn. Because there was a scary moment there where he was like, where Ross told him, you should be locked up here too with all the stuff that you pulled. Not managing to secure Cap and stuff. And it kind of made him seem like Ross's whipping boy. Or pawn, you know? And I like at the end how he was like, oh yeah, give me a call, I'll just ignore it.
Yeah.
So then we get to the final scene, or the final action scene, where...
What did you think of the idea of more Winter Soldiers?
I thought it was interesting.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, is that going to be the end fight? That's going to suck. That's going to be lame.
I was not looking forward to that fight, no, because I didn't want to see them fight a bunch of nobodies.
Right.
So I'm glad they didn't go that route. I thought it is so... I guess the implication is that In 1991, Howard Stark finally cracked the super soldier serum.
I guess.
Erskine's original formula.
Yeah, the blue.
And that's when they killed him to steal that. And then they gave it to their best Hydra agents. And, you know, like Erskine said in the original camera, it enhances whatever's inside. So if you're a good man, you want to give it to a good person. You don't want it to give it to a good soldier. Because a soldier can become unstable.
Right. They didn't know that.
Right. And that's why they like went freaking crazy and ended up having to freeze all those super soldiers.
One thing that wasn't made clear to me about the Winter Soldier, was he given a super soldier serum?
He was given a variation of it by Arnim Zola. They were experimenting with creating super soldiers as well. They were trying to recreate the formula that turned Red Skull into Red Skull.
They didn't explain that in Winter Soldier.
No, they kind of explained that in the first Captain America. It was implied.
Okay.
Especially when Bucky was on the operating table. And, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're smart, you'll get it.
Shut up. I guess. I mean, well, just seeing him like run faster than cars and stuff, and I assumed, but they never showed it.
And that's why he was able to survive cryo freezing as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway, I thought it was cool that Zemo killed the other guys because I didn't want to see that fight. And then fight ended up being a much more personal one after Zemo revealed.
Yeah, I had no idea where it was going after that part. I was like, what?
Oh, when you saw them all with bullet holes in their head? Yeah. I knew they were still going to fight, but I didn't know the motivation. And then all of a sudden, all goes back to that original scene. And it turns out that the people in the car were Tony Stark's parents.
Yeah.
And I love Zemo's line where he said... empire destroyed from the outside can come back strong.
They sort of like rally against the enemy that destroyed them, but one destroyed from within.
Yeah, stays down.
Stays down, yeah.
I was like, oh, that's great. A great line, a great motivation.
You still didn't know like what was going to happen.
Yeah. So then he shows the scene, and I kind of like how the emotional impact of it was made even greater when you kind of go through the screen into the actual scene and you see
that was kind of weird, just like
Bucky.
A random like CCTV like low, like upward shot, and then like you go through there. I thought that kind of took me out for a little bit.
It was a high shot. I was looking down.
Well, there was a high shot and then it cut to a low shot.
Oh, did it?
Then yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I assume it was on the Stark compound. It was like their drive out kind of thing, because
I don't think that was the Stark compound.
I thought it was, because Iron Man said, I know this road, and I think the security cams that they got the footage from, I think those were Stark security cams. So I don't think they were too far from home when it happened. My assumption.
But wouldn't Tony have had access to that footage then?
Not unless Hydra stole it somehow, which it looks like they did. So in order to... I think going into the scene through the TV kind of helped sell the idea. Seeing the brutality of it helped sell the fight to come. Because, and I don't know if it did it 100%. I don't know if we ever... Oh, that's my computer.
Awesome. Hey.
Amateur hour.
Hey, okay. Come
on. I don't know if I 100% bought into Stark's... Bought into Stark's anger.
Yeah, no. He called him... Earlier, like he even called him the Manchurian Candidate. He knew that he was like brainwashed into the assassination. He knew it wasn't Bucky's fault.
Yeah, and then he kind of lost all that logic.
But he was still being rational because he was still talking to his computer and stuff like that. So it's like, what's the new Jarvis?
Friday.
I mean, he was still talking to her, and issuing orders, and she was talking back to him and saying, "Hey, don't do this."
He just really wanted revenge.
It seems out of character, especially with how much growth he's had.
It makes me think that maybe he had a closer relationship with his mom than we thought, because he said, "I don't care. He killed my mom." Later on. So I guess that sells it. Steve really goes at him to defend the Winter Soldier, and I guess you have to, otherwise your friend dies.
I had a quick question before we get into the fight, though, and I just thought of this. How did Zemo know that Bucky was the one who killed Iron Man's parents?
From the mission report.
But he didn't have the mission report until he interviewed the Winter Soldier.
Right, but he had decoded some of the data that was released by Black Widow. That's how he got started on that path. So he had a suspicion.
You probably put 2 and 2 together, seeing that that's the day the Starks died.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. No, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So I never once did I think that Captain America was going to kill Iron Man. Never once did I think that Iron Man was going to kill...
Honestly, when he put his shield through his arc reactor, I was like, you just killed him. That's his heart. You just broke his heart.
Oh, you never saw Iron Man 3, did you?
No.
It's external now. He doesn't have... he got the shrapnel out of his heart.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just a powered suit now. It's not...
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not like that in the comics.
I think it is. I can't remember.
I guess that makes sense, because that always baffled me. Like, why would you put... You basically have like an organ on the outside of your body.
Exactly, yeah.
I did appreciate how the unibeam just ripped off. Because it's like his most powerful attack. His unibeam from his chest.
Yeah.
Just
and that was
his arm.
In Iron Man 3 too. Like, he wasn't able to blast through the extremist soldiers, but his unibeam is more like a plasma beam that just like disintegrates things. So never once did I think Cap was going to kill Iron Man. Never once did I think Iron Man was going to kill Cap. But I was fairly certain that Iron Man was going to kill Winter Soldier, and so they all had to kind of give it all they had. So
yeah,
it was a fun. Well,
again, this is all assuming that Tony Stark would do that. Like, he would be angry enough just to give up reason. Yeah. It was a cool fight. It was a really cool fight. It was well shot, really well choreographed. I love the shot between where, it's like the shot from the comics when he's like blasting Cap's shield. It was just great. I
like how he analyzed his fight pattern.
Yeah, great cinematography. Yeah. And that was cool too, the analyzation of the fight pattern. That was, really cool.
I think the only problem I had with Cap punching Iron Man like that, though, is that he'd break his hands. I mean, it's not some kind of like flimsy metal. This is the Iron Man suit, Right. It can withstand a tank blast, and then he falls from the sky,
that was a crazy scene. We didn't talk about that.
Oh, with War Machine?
Yeah, War Machine falling from the sky. I didn't think he was actually going to land. I thought I thought Iron Man was going to be fast enough to like catch up to him and kind of stay his fall just a little bit. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like Batman did to Rachel in the Dark Knight movie when they fell off the roof. Something like that. Yeah. He straight up crashed into the ground.
Yeah, and broke his spine.
I thought he was dead.
And I thought when he blasted Sam right after that, I thought that was warranted. I thought that was a pretty good shot.
I was surprised that it was Vision who did it, because from the trailers it looked like it was Bucky.
Well, that's just the way it was cut.
It was clever cutting. Yeah, but I was still surprised that it was Vision.
Yeah, he was distracted, I guess.
It's supposed to be like this perfect beam.
And Falcon saw it. He looked behind him and saw it coming and managed to get out of the way. Yeah. So anyway,
Falcon is just really cool.
Falcon is really cool.
I want to be the Falcon. Like, of all of their powers, give me those wings.
Really? Like, you wouldn't think, he could just fly. Like, give me the Iron Man suit, he could fly too. But there's a style to the Falcon, I think.
For sure, yeah.
That makes him pretty cool. I think that takes us to the end of the movie. Cap loses the shield. I thought that was a really good line where he's like, that shield doesn't belong to you, my father made it. And he's like, you're right. Yeah. So he leaves it. And, the scene with Black Panther and Zemo, fantastic. He's like, you think he's gonna kill him, and then he kind of figures out what's going on, and he's like, I'm done being consumed by vengeance.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little underwhelmed.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was fantastic.
I don't know what I was expecting. That's a really shitty fight if they were to start fighting, but why didn't Black Panther break up the fight?
I think he was just letting him hash it out. I don't know. Yeah. I think he was more motivated by his vengeance than anything, but by that point, I think it was just the sight of him about ready to kill himself and everything, and realize what kind of man he's become due to his thirst for vengeance. Mm-hmm. Like, all this shit that he did. And Zemo kind of gave his backstory in that scene. He talked about his wife and kids, and I think my assumption from seeing the trailers and knowing that Zemo was going to be in the movie was that Hydra. I thought Hydra was still playing a role. I thought he was a Hydra agent. I am so glad that he's not.
Yeah, that was starting to get old.
Done. Well, they finally. I don't know if this is a spoiler. They got rid of Hydra in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. Hydra's no longer around. They finally wiped them all out because they were still around.
I find that hard to believe.
They were still around even after Age of Ultron, when they got like supposedly the last Hydra base, but they for sure wiped out everybody in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, by the time that the film was released, Hydra's no longer a factor. I like how S.H.I.E.L.D. nor Hydra were a factor in this movie.
He killed that one Hydra agent.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So, yeah, I liked that scene. I like how Black Panther prevented him from killing himself, and then took him to Everett K. Ross. Everett K. Ross. Martin Freeman had a much smaller role. I think he only had like 3 lines total.
Yeah, seriously.
Much smaller role in this movie than I thought he was going to have, but it was just all set up for the Black Panther movie. When he's going to be the Wakandan liaison, I guess. And that character is hilarious in the comics. Yeah, he's so damn funny. He was not really funny at all in this movie.
Comic relief.
Yeah.
In the comic for sure.
So hopefully they use him as the comic relief in the movie, because Black Panther he's not making any jokes.
No.
that character, and he does it in the comics, and so he shouldn't, and so it'll be nice to have that comic relief in the movie. The letter, I think we're on that scene now. The letter that
Steve
writes to Tony. I thought that was very well written. I think he admits that he was wrong in that letter where he says, "I thought I was defending your feelings, but really I was really defending myself by keeping that secret from you, that Bucky killed his parents."
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice. He was kind of mad enough to admit that he's not perfect. But it was good that he still agreed with the chords. I like how he told Tony, like, "I know you're just standing up for what you believe in. That's all any of us can do. It's all any of us should do." So it was not a
ambiguous. I don't think Tony was still for the Accords by the end of the film. And see, it was ambiguous. I mean,
I don't think anybody was. I think it was all. Well, okay, that's not true, because Tony Stark was very much for them. But by the end, it was all more of like a reluctance.
Like, it didn't even matter, which kind of, like, I mean, bothered me a little bit, because I never, I mean, I mentioned this to you, like, at the end of the film, and you're like, there is no answer to the question of personal freedom versus safety, security.
Mm-hmm.
I think there kind of is. And the correct answer is always personal freedom. They didn't bother answering it. Maybe. Did they? I don't know. I don't know what happened to the Avengers at the end of this film.
I think Tony still has the same beliefs that he has. I just think that it's not happening in quite the way he thought it would with General Ross. And so he's kind of being slightly more rebellious to them than he would have been. Mm-hmm. Like if he were in charge of them, kind of.
So, I mean, but like the Avengers only consists of like War Machine and Vision now. Because like everyone else, I guess they're all fugitives now.
I guess they're all secret Avengers now. I don't know how. I bet you that he breaks everybody out of the raft except for Ant-Man, who chooses to stay there. And then, like, so I don't think Ant-Man's going to be a fugitive by the time of the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. I think he's going to have, like, maybe served his time again or something and come out, like,
why would Ant-Man choose to stay there?
Because he has a family. You haven't seen the Ant-Man movie. He has a family that he needs to take care of. And I think being a fugitive and being caught again is just going to put them through too much. So I assume that he's going to stay there, pay his debt for however long that takes, about a few months or something, and then be released. And so, but I think the rest are going to be secret Avengers.
Well, what about Hawkeye? He has a family.
Hawkeye's not the type to do that, though. Hawkeye's more rebellious than Ant-Man. So
I was actually surprised when I saw Jeremy Renner in the film. I forgot for some reason that he was going to be in the film.
He didn't show up till much later.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene when he did show up and they fought Vision and everything. Vision was pretty cool.
Do you think Iron Man was a dick to Spider-Man at the end?
No, when he said, you're done. I thought he was looking out for him. I think he was like, this ended up being much bigger than I thought. I think I don't want you to get hurt on my behalf. I brought you into this fight. You're done.
Like, no, I kind of got the impression like you're done with like superheroics. Give me your suit.
What?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I thought.
No, he's like, you're done for the day. You're not fighting anymore. Because he wanted
to. I mean, the fight was over anyway. Yeah. Why would he say that?
Well, it was a way for him to show concern.
Because I thought he was totally like taking away his.
No, because he wanted to send up. He was like, I can still go. And he was like, oh, no, I can't.
Go where? The fight was over.
Did they know that? I mean,
he was trying.
Captain.
He even said he was like trying to impress Tony.
Captain America.
I guess, but it seemed like he didn't.
Captain America and Winter Soldier escaped. Yes, but there were still other people there.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I get.
We assume that he surrendered at that time, but we can't assume that they knew that they would have surrendered at that time.
Spider-Man was saying earlier that he was trying to make a good impression for Tony Stark.
Right.
I got the impression at the very end that he didn't. That Tony was like, "You're done."
No, he still had his Stark tech.
Okay, all right. Sorry,
you're wrong. No, so. That's the end of the movie. There were 2 after credit scenes. One of them was in Wakanda.
Rephrasing the Winter Soldier. Do you think that's the last we'll see of Bucky?
No. I think he'll show up in the Infinity War movie.
I think he'll show up in Black Panther.
That I don't know. I don't think they have a huge relationship in the comics, so I don't know what role he would play.
I mean,
unless the whole purpose of it is them coming after the Winter Soldier, and then like maybe Claw is using that as a means to infiltrate Wakanda to steal vibranium again or something like that, and it's just like a defensive story. Kind of.
Is his arm vibranium?
No, it's not.
Okay. I think it might be cool to see Winter Soldier be Black Panther's white sidekick.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. No, if it was vibranium, I don't think Iron Man would have been able to blast it off. So
sure.
I thought the pan out of and we see like the jungle and then their big panther statues that they have, and I don't know if they'll transform into weapons or have offensive capabilities or defensive capabilities like they do.
They have like huge panther tanks.
Yes, yeah. So I'm so excited for that movie.
There's some cool looking tech.
That scene alone, the after credit scene, got me more excited for the Black Panther movie than any part that he played in the main storyline, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Just because you see the reality of Wakanda for the first time.
It'll be interesting to have I think it'll be a pretty political film because you have a king being a superhero. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me I'm not sure what's coming out first, that or Aquaman. But in both films, you sort of have like this king superhero. What does that mean for his subjects and everyone? If he's going out fighting bad guys. So,
and then the second.
We already talked about.
Yeah, we already talked about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spider-Man with. That was
the
pretty
spider
funny.
signal.
He's like, I got to a fight. This guy from Brooklyn hit me.
Steve, his friend was huge. So, yeah.
It definitely gets me excited for the Spider-Man film.
Yes.
Still not excited for the title, but definitely excited for the Spider-Man film.
I'm still hoping they'll retitle it. We'll see.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Especially since one of the words to activate the Winter Soldier was homecoming. I think that was kind of like a little Easter egg.
What was that? That was interesting. Because every time they said that, I was like, homecoming, Spider-Man, homecoming. I wonder if he's going to fight like Russian super soldier or something. He doesn't really have that in his pantheon of supervillains. His rogues gallery.
Well, they could make Electro Russian or something. Or not Electro, Shocker or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe Vulture will be Russian. So, final thoughts? What's your final rating?
Final rating? I think it gets a 4.5 or a 4 from me just because it's a great film and it's practically perfect, except, again, I don't think it's going to age well and it doesn't stand on its own.
I think this movie is among Marvel's best. I don't know if it's better than Avengers or not. I think I like Avengers a little bit more because the Avengers story was a little bit more pure. It wasn't as dense, and again, it stood on its own. So I think I got to give the edge to the Avengers. I think they both had equal spectacle. But I give the edge to the Avengers. Still being the number one Marvel movie, I got to give Civil War number 2, though. I think it was better than Winter Soldier. I think it was better than the first Iron Man, which was also a fantastic movie. and I think those are the best Marvel movies. So I would put Civil War in the number 2 spot. I think, but I got to rate it the same. I think a movie that good, you got to give 5 stars. So I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say. You just threw me off with your rating. It's not a perfect film, again. I mean, but
what film is?
I still think the best superhero film is The Dark Knight.
That's because you like DC.
Well, I mean, but
because I liked Batman Begins more than I liked The Dark Knight.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I think the Batman Begins was much more of a comic book movie. I think The Dark Knight was a good movie. It transcended the genre.
Transcended the genre.
But to say
Civil War
that makes it the best is almost to be an apologist, I think.
What?
It was almost a good movie because it wasn't like a comic book movie. I think that's what a lot of people think. So I think it's even better than transcending the genre or sidestepping. Really, is what The Dark Knight did. I think the Avengers, because I've never read a comic book that was ever like The Dark Knight, but I think the Avengers embodies the genre. I think it's the pinnacle of what a superhero story, as adapted from the comic books, can be.
The Dark Knight was adapted from a comic book. I don't want to argue or get too much into this, but I mean, if you've read anything like Sandman or Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns, to a lesser extent, you get a better idea of what comics could be. Like, they don't have to be like just these action things. It can incorporate that, but it could be much more, and that's what The Dark Knight was, I think, for film. So I think that sets the bar. This was a great superhero film, but I also think those are the words. Again, it's probably the most challenging and most mature Marvel film, along with like The Winter Soldier, because that was pretty mature as well. Film that Marvel's produced, but at the end of the day, it's just another Marvel film. It's just another
Silly comic book story fantasy. Yeah. You're being an apologist.
I'll be an apologist.
I think Batman Begins was better than The Dark Knight. Anyway, what are we talking about then?
We're talking about the rating.
Oh, I give it 5 stars. You give it 4 stars. I guess the overall grade that we'll give it is 4.5.
Yeah, what would you rate Avengers?
5 stars. The way that movie was done, and I think even Batman vs Superman showed it, to have these large ensemble pieces, these team up movies, and still have them be good, of quality. So many people are trying to emulate the Avengers. I think Avengers was groundbreaking, and nobody's really been able to recreate that. Age of Ultron wasn't able to recreate that that magic, and I think it was it was just a perfect way to represent these comic book characters. The story was almost, now I don't want to say flawless, but it was. They did a really good job crafting that and weaving everything. It's everybody had their part to play, and they all had major roles. And yeah, I got to give it 5 stars.
The Avengers.
Yeah, and this one, because I think it did the same thing. So,
do you think it's going to age as well as the Avengers?
I don't think it will be remembered as well. I think Avengers will always be remembered as kind of this. It was the first time that you saw these heroes team up. There was nothing new regarding it, except for maybe Ant-Man. It was cool to see Ant-Man starting to interact with all these characters, but that appeal was not there.
Did this film change how you saw BVS in any way?
No. I still like that movie.
I saw it again recently. Last weekend, I watched it again with mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I got so much more out of it. I get so much more out of it each viewing. I do have to say, I don't really think the actual fight between Batman and Superman was a good fight anymore.
No.
It was really slow.
At least when you compare it to this film.
Yeah. Absolutely comparing it to this.
There's so much more hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, but even especially when I saw it the third time, and especially after I saw Civil War.
Yeah. The stunt work on Civil War was just amazing. The stuntmen, the choreography teams.
Absolutely.
And in Batman vs Superman, the fight was very CGI.
Yeah. I did understand Luthor's plan this time.
Yes.
Actually, the third time. But it wasn't as good as Burns Zemo's.
Yeah. So I guess that means Civil War was better than Batman vs Superman. Go Marvel. You'll get your day. You'll get your day one day, maybe. If
Now
Zack
that
Snyder.
Ben Affleck is the executive producer, we're closer to that day.
Yeah.
And I still like BVS, but I'm not going to pretend to say that BVS was better than Civil War.
It was still a good movie.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was. I mean, I'd watch it again. I mean, if I bought DC movies, which I don't, because I know you have them, I would probably buy Batman vs Superman when it comes out on DVD.
I'm really looking forward to the Ultimate Rated R edition.
I'm not.
Really?
I don't think it's gonna be like over 3 hours. But usually my stance on director's cuts or extended cuts, I should say, not director's cuts, extended cuts, is that there's a reason why these moments were cut from the film.
Well, I think really it's because there's going to be a lot more to fill in gaps. Again, I don't want to get too much into BVS because this is Civil War's time to shine. But no, I think that it'll help the story a lot because I think there was a lot missing from like the African fight. The whole thing went down there, and they've said that there's more to that story.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just, one of my favorite films of all time is it's either my first or second. It fluctuates. Is Kingdom of Heaven. The director's cut of that is extremely long, but comparing it to the theatrical version is it's night and day. I should say extended cuts bother me. Director's cuts don't, because I like seeing the director's vision. And Watchmen, I thought was better as the director's cut.
See version. That I really liked the theatrical cut of Watchmen. I think it condensed everything. It didn't need to be. It was cool to see all the extra stuff, but I don't think it was necessary for the story. Anyway, that does it for this podcast. So Civil War, overall, 4.5 stars. When, we combine our two grades. Fantastic movie. Can't wait to see the rest of the films coming out later that stem from this movie.
Yeah.
And go Marvel. Did it again.
Yeah.
Next podcast.
Congratulations.
Next podcast will be in 2 weeks. It'll be a battle cast. I'm not sure who we're going to pit against each other.
Oh my gosh. Send us your choices for who you want to see in a battle cast.
Where can they reach us?
You can reach us via email at dcmarvelbattlecast@gmail.com. On Twitter at Marvel... No, DC Marvel... Sorry. At DC Marvel Battle.
Yeah.
And then...
you can subscribe to us on SoundCloud or on iTunes or on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just do a search for DC Marvel Battlecast and it'll take you right to us.
Rate us on YouTube, and we need to start giving all this information at the beginning because I don't know if people make it to the very end here. If you do,
please rate us.
Gosh,
rate us.
Send us your Battlecast requests.
Yeah,
and we're desperate. We'll do anything. We'll do anything.
Never mind. All right.
You will. I won't.
Okay. That does it. We'll see you guys again in 2 weeks. We'll do the Battlecast, and then the episode after that will be a review of X-Men Apocalypse. So tune in again, and we'll see you then.
Yep. Up and away.
True believers.